The Kayark's dominion was a large alien empire. They had many starships, space stations, and soldiers. For years, they acted like they were the most powerful group in the galaxy. They did what they wanted and believed no one could stop them. They made rules and expected everyone to follow them. If someone disagreed, they punished them. Even when the people were innocent, the Kayarks did not care. They only wanted control. They wanted fear. They believed fear would keep everyone quiet. But they were wrong, very wrong. On a quiet planet called Vesta 4, a small human colony had been living in peace. The colony was not large. It had farmers, teachers, scientists, and families with children. They were not soldiers. They didn't cause trouble. They grew food, studied plants, and built homes. Many of them hoped to one day turn Vesta 4 into a safe place for humans and aliens to live together. There was a school for young kids, a medical center, and even a small library with books from Earth. People worked hard every day. They helped each other. They dreamed of a better future. But one dark morning, everything changed. Without warning, a Kayark's warship came out of the sky. It was large, black, and silent. No message came before it landed. There were no talks, no questions, no orders. The ship just hovered over the colony, blocking the sun. Its long arms opened and many metal soldiers marched out. Their armor was cold and gray. Their faces were hidden. They didn't speak. They didn't explain. They went into homes, schools, and workstations. They searched everything. 12 people were taken that day. Some were young, some old. Some were teachers. One was a nurse. A few were students. All of them were human. The metal soldiers grabbed them fast and forced them into the ship. Families screamed. Children cried. Friends tried to stop them, but they were pushed back. One mother reached out for her daughter, but a soldier slammed the door before she could touch her. The ship lifted off without a sound, as if nothing had happened. The sky was empty again. But something was missing. 12 lives had been stolen. Back on the Kayark's border station, far away in deep space, the 12 humans were put on trial, but it was not a fair trial. It was held in secret. No one was told where they were. No one was allowed to speak for them. The Kayarks called it justice. They said the humans broke laws. They claimed the humans were spies, but there was no proof. No one could ask questions. No one could help. The trial ended quickly. The Kayark's guards carried out the sentence in the dark. There were no last words. No goodbyes, just silence. News of the missing humans did not spread fast. That was the Kayark's plan. They thought if no one knew, there would be no trouble. They believed Earth would be too far to care. They believed humans were too weak to fight back. But they didn't understand who they had taken. They didn't know the truth. The 12 people were not just random names. Each one had someone who loved them, someone who would not stop until answers were found. The Kayarks had made a terrible mistake. On Vesta 4, the colony held a small memorial. They lit candles. They spoke the names of the missing. They shared stories about them. Children wrote letters. Friends placed flowers near the empty homes. But behind the sadness, something else began to grow. A quiet anger, a promise to remember, a spark that would not fade. The people knew the Kayarks had taken too much. And someone needed to do something. Someone had to speak up. Someone had to fight, not with weapons, but with truth. Meanwhile, back on Earth, news slowly began to reach important people. Not through the Kayarks, not through official channels, but through whispers, a message from a satellite, a warning from a scout, a broken signal from deep space. The signs were small at first, but they added up. Someone started looking closer. Files were opened. Records were checked. Faces were matched. The 12 were real. They had families, jobs, and dreams. They had never been in trouble. They had no reason to be punished. Something was wrong, very wrong. The first to notice was a technician in Earth's space network. He saw that a data beacon near Vesta 4 had gone offline during the time of the abduction. That same day, a patrol ship had picked up strange energy signals in the area. When he reported this, his superior told him not to worry. "Sometimes things break," she said, but the technician couldn't forget the signals. He dug deeper. He found a short message in the data, just 5 seconds long. But in that message was a human voice crying for help. The voice said, "They're taking us, please tell Earth." And then it went silent. The technician shared the file with a retired fleet commander. That commander had once served near Kayark's space. He remembered the old stories. He remembered how the Kayarks worked. He knew they didn't always follow rules. When he heard the voice, he felt cold inside. He knew this wasn't just a mistake. He passed the message on to the Terran Council. The Council was the group of leaders who made choices for Earth's space colonies. They listened. They asked questions. And slowly, the full picture began to form. By the end of the week, the Terran Council had a list of the 12 missing people. Each one had someone on Earth who cared. A brother in the Navy, a mother in the Council, a friend in the press. And one girl, just 13, had written a poem for her missing teacher. That poem went viral on the net. Millions read it, many cried. It ended with the line, "If stars could speak, they'd scream for you." That poem made people ask questions. Soon, everyone was asking, "Where are the Vesta 12? The Kayarks stayed silent. They did not answer. They did not explain. They acted like nothing had happened, but the galaxy was listening. Other alien races began to ask questions too. The Zeri Alliance sent a request to the Kayarks asking for information. The Kayarks refused. The Trade Guild asked for peace checks. The Kayarks blocked their scans. The silence became louder than any shout. Everyone knew something dark had happened. Some tried to defend the Kayarks. Maybe it was a mistake, they said. Maybe those humans did something wrong. But there was no proof, and people kept digging. A hacker from Europa cracked into a Kayark storage node. What she found was shocking: video files, short clips, blurry images, but clear enough to see human faces. The faces of the 12 locked in cells, some crying, some sitting still. None of them dangerous, none of them fighting, just scared. The hacker sent the files to the Terran Council. Then she shared them with the galaxy. Billions watched. News screens everywhere showed the 12 faces: teachers, nurses, students. One man held a family picture in his hand. He never looked at the camera. The caption below the video said, "Last seen alive." That was the moment everything changed. Now the galaxy knew. The Kayarks couldn't hide it anymore. They had taken innocent people. They had lied. They had killed. Earth did not speak right away. The council met in private. They did not want war. They did not want fear, but they wanted answers, and they wanted justice. So they began to plan. On Earth, many people wanted to fight. They wanted to send ships. They wanted to attack, but others said, "Wait, let's be smart." And slowly a plan began to grow, not a loud plan, not a quick one. A quiet one, careful, strong. A plan that would shake the galaxy without firing a single shot. But before that plan began, something else happened, something very small. A girl from the colony on Vesta 4 went to visit her grandmother on Mars. The girl had a scar on her arm. She got it the day the Kayark soldiers came. She had tried to stop them from taking her brother. A guard pushed her. She fell on the sharp edge of a broken metal bar. She never forgot the pain, but she also never let the scar fade. She wore it like a badge. One day, while in a spaceport on Mars, she passed by a Kyrk's trader. The trader saw the scar. She froze. Her eyes went wide. She whispered something in her own language, then said in common, "This scar, you are that child." The girl stopped. She stared. She didn't speak. She didn't need to. The truth was in the silence. The fear in the trader's voice was clear. She had heard of the 12. She had seen the images. And now she realized humans had not forgotten. The 12 humans taken from Vesta 4 were not famous. They were not soldiers. They did not wear fancy clothes or carry big titles, but each one of them had a story. Each person had people who cared about them. Each one mattered. They were not just names on a list. They were real people with dreams, memories, and hearts that beat strong. They were sons, daughters, friends, neighbors, and heroes in quiet ways. The first person was a woman named Lena Maris. She was a science teacher at the colony's school. Lena loved to grow plants in her classroom. Her students called her Miss Leaf because she always wore a green jacket and talked about how plants could clean the air and feed the future. She had a soft voice, but when she smiled, the whole room lit up. Lena had come to Vesta 4 to teach kids about Earth's flowers and how they could grow in space. She believed that even far from Earth, people needed beauty and nature. Lena had no family on the colony, but she called her students her garden of hope. Every morning she would water the small plant pots on the windowsill. Some were growing tomatoes, others sunflowers. Her class had just started a project to build a greenhouse before she was taken. Her last words to her students were, "Let's bring Earth's green to the stars." When her students found her coat left behind, they hung it by the garden wall, and they waited for her return. Next was Tom Renly, a young man who worked in the colony's power station. Tom was always busy fixing wires and checking energy cells. People called him the Spark. He loved machines, and he often said, "If it has a wire, I can fix it." Tom had grown up on Earth in a city full of noise, but he had moved to Vesta 4 to live somewhere quiet. He liked how the stars looked from the edge of the desert, where no buildings blocked the sky. Tom had an older sister named Kara who served in the Terran Navy. She was stationed far away near the edge of the Orion Gate. When she heard Tom was missing, she left her post and went straight to Earth. She stood in front of the Terran Council and said, "If you won't find him, I will." She didn't wait for orders. Kara started looking on her own. She visited traders, listened to whispers, and searched every dark corner of the net. Her little brother meant everything to her. She wouldn't stop. Then there was Myra Canto, a nurse at the colony's small medical center. Myra had been a doctor in training on Mars, but she came to Vesta 4 after her son died in an accident. She wanted to go somewhere far away, somewhere quiet where she could help others. She believed in healing, not just with medicine, but with kindness. Myra would often sit by her patients, holding their hands while they rested. People said her voice made pain go away. They trusted her with their lives. Myra had saved many lives during a mining accident the year before. A tunnel had collapsed and several workers were trapped inside. Myra crawled through dust and fire to get to them. She didn't care about her own safety. She carried one man on her back. That same man, a miner named Fenn, cried when she was taken. He stood outside the station every day, waiting, hoping she would come back. He left a note under her desk. "You saved me. Now I will find you." Another person taken was Finn Jarrow, a young boy only 14 years old. He was in Lena's class. Finn had always been full of questions. He liked to draw pictures of robots and spaceships in his notebooks. Sometimes he got in trouble for talking too much in class, but everyone liked him. He had red hair, freckles, and a bright laugh. He wanted to become an engineer someday. He loved to take things apart just to see how they worked. Finn's mother, Risa, worked in the colony's food center. She baked bread and always saved the last sweet roll for Finn. When he was taken, she didn't cry. She went straight to the colony's message room and began calling every ship captain she knew. She sent messages to Earth, to Mars, and even to the Zeri Alliance. Her son was out there and she would find him. She told everyone, no one forgets a child. Lara Doan was next. She was a translator. She knew 6 alien languages and worked to help humans and aliens understand each other. She had helped settle 3 big trade deals between Earth and alien traders. She believed words could stop wars. She often said, "A handshake is worth more than a blaster." On Vesta 4, she helped local traders work with off-world buyers. She always smiled, even when the work was hard. Her dream was to one day write a book called How to Speak Peace. Lara had once saved a Kayark's diplomat from making a terrible mistake. She corrected a translation that would have caused a fight between 2 groups. That same Kayark's diplomat watched in silence as she was taken by his own people. He didn't stop them, but he remembered her. Later, he would send a message, quiet and hidden, to Earth, saying, "One of your own spoke peace. She did not deserve silence." There was also Dalen Vix, a delivery pilot. Dalen flew a small ship named Dustwind. He brought food, tools, and letters between the colony and nearby outposts. He was known for being fast and never late. Dalen liked to tell stories about the things he saw on other planets. He had a scar on his cheek and wore old flight goggles even when not flying. Kids loved to sit near him in the food hall. Hopping, he'd tell a story about space dragons or gas storms. Dalen didn't have a family on the colony. He had been alone for a long time, but he wrote letters to a friend on Titan, an old man named Jarrow who had helped him when he was young. When Jarrow heard Dalen was missing, he sold everything and booked passage to Earth. He was the best pilot in the system, Jarrow said, and he always came home. Always. Also among the 12 was Hannah Bell, a quiet artist. Hannah painted scenes of the stars and hung them in the colony's hallways. Her paintings were soft, full of color, and made people stop and breathe. She didn't speak much, but when she painted, her feelings filled the walls. She had once said, "Space is not empty. It just waits for beauty." Her last painting before she was taken showed 12 people standing under a tree that glowed with starlight. Her best friend, Mako, was heartbroken. He was the one who had given her paints when she first arrived. He kept her last painting safe. He made copies and sent them to every spaceport he could find. "If anyone sees her," he said, "show her this. She'll know I'm still waiting." Then there was Ren Askar, a builder who helped design new homes for the growing colony. Ren liked clean lines and strong roofs. He believed every house should feel like safety. He often walked the streets at night, checking that lights worked and doors locked. People said he had hands of stone and a heart of fire. He had helped build over 30 homes on Vesta 4. His partner, Elen, lived in the house they built together. When Ren was taken, Elen stood at their door every evening waiting. She tied a red ribbon to the gate post, a symbol of welcome. She said, "He always comes home for dinner. I'll keep his plate warm." Another was Tala Noor, a singer and caretaker. Tala sang songs from Earth's old days. Her voice was soft and strong. She worked at the colony's nursery, helping care for young children. The little ones called her Mama Tala. She sang to them when they were scared. She told them stories about lions, rivers, and stars that danced. Tala had no children of her own, but she loved every child like family. When she was taken, the nursery felt quiet and cold. The kids didn't understand. One child, only 3 years old, asked, "Where did the singing go?" That question made the adults cry. They promised to keep singing until Mama Tala came back. Among the 12 was also Joss Kern, an older man who had once been a history teacher. On Vesta 4, he ran a small library. It wasn't large, just a few shelves in a metal room, but Joss made it feel like home. He believed every person had a story and every story mattered. He had helped people find jobs, learn new skills, and believe in themselves. People called him Grandpa Joss. His favorite saying was, "Words build the future." When he was taken, the library lights were left on for 3 days straight. His favorite chair sat empty, but people came and sat in silence, reading the books he had loved. They left notes on the table. One said, "You taught me to believe. Now I'll fight for you." The last of the 12 was Myra Saul, a young girl only 11 years old. Myra was smart, brave, and full of energy. She liked to fix robots, play games, and tell jokes. She had a pet named Binks, a small fuzzy creature from a nearby moon. Myra had big dreams. She said she wanted to become a captain one day and lead her own crew through the stars. Myra's father, Darren Saul, was a pilot for the Terran Defense. When he learned his daughter was gone, he left everything behind. He sent a message to the council, "You can keep your ships. I'll find my daughter my way." And he did. He followed every whisper, every trail. He searched the stars for the smallest clue, because Myra was not just his daughter. She was his whole world. These were the 12, not soldiers, not leaders, just people. Good, kind, honest people. And when they were taken, something inside humanity broke, but something else lit up, something stronger than fear. The galaxy would soon learn who these people really were, not because of what they did, but because of who loved them. And love, when tested, becomes a fire that never goes out. At first, the galaxy did not shake. There were no big explosions, no huge battles, no planets burned. The stars stayed quiet and the ships kept flying. But something had started. It was small. It was quiet. It was the beginning of something that could not be stopped. When the 12 humans were taken, the news spread slowly. People didn't know at first. Vesta 4 was far away. It was just a small colony. Many people thought it didn't matter. But it did matter to the people who lived there. And it mattered to the people who loved those who were gone. At first, the revenge was not loud. It came in whispers, in shadows, in little things that looked like nothing but meant everything. The first act came from Kara Renly, Tom's sister. She didn't cry when she heard her brother had been taken. She didn't scream. She didn't fall apart. She got on a ship, flew to the nearest port, and met with people who did not wear uniforms. These people were not part of any army. They were not on any map, But they had eyes in many places. They listened to the dark. They followed trails that others missed. Kara paid them with all the money she had. She said, "Find out who took my brother, find where they went." One of the quiet men nodded. He said, "We will know in 3 days." And they did. The name of the ship that took the humans was the Night Maw. It belonged to a group of alien raiders who sold living people. They worked with the Kayaks Empire but were not really part of it. They followed no laws. They cared about nothing but credits and power. These raiders thought no one would care about 12 humans. They were wrong. The second act of revenge came from a miner named Fenn. He had been saved by Myra Canto during a cave collapse. When he heard she was gone, he did not stay quiet. He took his tools and made something. It was not a big weapon. It was a tracker, small, silent, and strong. He gave it to a cargo pilot and told him to sneak it onto a ship heading toward the outer ring where the raiders often traveled. The tracker would follow the trail, and it did. Fenn stayed behind but kept watching the signal. Every night he sat in front of the screen, eyes wide open. He whispered to himself, "We'll find you, Myra, I promise." The third act came from a group of students. They were Lena Maris's class. When their teacher was taken, they didn't know what to do at first. They were scared. They were sad. But one girl named Janny stood up. She said, "Miss Leaf always said we were her garden. Gardens grow even in the dark." The class nodded. They started planting flowers outside the school. But these flowers were not just for beauty. Underneath the soil, they buried small memory chips. Each chip had videos and pictures of their teacher. Then they sent those videos out into the net, into space, into every channel they could find. They made sure the galaxy saw Lena's smile. They made sure everyone knew she was kind, smart, and loved. The message was simple. She mattered. One day, a trader from a neutral world saw the video. He sent back a message. "I saw her once," he wrote. "She helped me find medicine for my daughter. I did not know she was taken. I will help." He gave the students maps of the areas where the raiders were known to go. He told them, "You are just children, but your love speaks louder than most leaders." The students cried, but they also smiled. They knew they had made a mark. The fourth act came from a baker, Risa, the mother of Finn. She had never left the colony before. She had never flown a ship. But when her son was taken, she learned fast. She traded her bakery for a small shuttle. She called it Hope's Flame. It was old, slow, and creaked when it moved, but it could fly. She packed food, water, and a picture of Finn. Then she left. Risa flew from moon to moon, station to station. She asked every person she met if they had seen a boy with red hair and bright eyes. Many shook their heads. Some ignored her, but others listened. One guard on a supply station remembered seeing a child who matched Finn's look. He had been crying. He had asked for a sweet roll. That was all Risa needed. She knew she was getting closer. The fifth act came from someone unexpected. It was a Kayaks diplomat named Sirach. He had once worked with Lara Doan, the translator. He had always respected her. She had helped him many times. When he learned his people had taken her, he felt shame. He could not speak out loud, not yet, but he sent a secret message through a hidden line. The message said, "She was a bridge, not an enemy. You made a mistake. I will open a path, but be quiet, be careful." Attached to the message was a list of planets where prisoners had been sold in the past. The list was short, but it gave the humans a place to start. Kara received the message. She smiled for the first time in days. More people started helping. A young man named Mako, the friend of Hannah Bell, printed her paintings on cloth and hung them in spaceports. Under each one he wrote, "Have you seen her? She sees beauty in the stars." Other artists joined him. Soon, whole walls in some stations were covered in Hannah's soft colors. One pilot said, "I don't know who she is, but her paintings made me stop and feel. That means she's special." He agreed to help search. Ren Askar's partner, Elen, sent building blueprints to every colony nearby. She said, "He builds homes. He makes people safe. If he's out there, I will bring him home." And in return, engineers from other colonies sent her gear, supplies, and maps. They didn't know Ren, but they respected a builder. They said, "We help our own." Joss Kern's old students, now adults working in different places, started speaking up. One posted, "He taught me how to believe in myself. I owe him my life." Others wrote stories about him and shared them online. In the spaceport on New Avalon, someone printed Joss's favorite saying, "Words build the future," in large letters across the dock wall. People who didn't know Joss read the words and felt something stir inside. Even the children from the nursery where Tala Nor worked tried to help. They drew pictures of stars and planets with big smiling faces. Their new teacher scanned the drawings and sent them into space with the message, "These are for Mama Tala, we miss you, please come back soon." A trader from a far-off moon saw the drawings. She cried. Then she offered to take a message for the colony. She said, "I can't do much, but I will carry their love." The smallest act may have been the most powerful. It came from Darren Saul, the father of little Myra. He was a trained pilot. He had seen battles. He had flown through storms. But when his daughter was taken, his heart broke in a way he had never felt before. He didn't speak to anyone. He just climbed into his ship and flew. But he didn't fly alone. He brought Myra's pet, Binks. The small, fuzzy creature didn't understand, but it missed her. Darren played her favorite songs while they flew. He wore her drawing on his jacket. He said, "I will not stop, not ever." He found an old friend who worked as a data thief. Together, they broke into the records of the Empire's outer fleets. They found a name, a route, a mistake. Darren whispered, "That's where she is." He turned his ship toward the dark. All these small acts added up. One by one, they started to connect. Kara's spies met Risa on a supply moon. The baker and the fighter shared a meal and made a plan. Mako's art caught the eye of a transport chief who gave him access to hidden shipping routes. The student's flower message reached a group of deep space traders who offered to carry messages further. Even the Kayark's diplomat sent another note. He said, "I cannot stop what has started, but I can give you one more clue." The galaxy didn't notice at first, but the winds were changing. Ships that used to pass each other without care now whispered greetings. Traders started asking if anyone had seen the 12. Mechanics shared codes for hidden scanners. Even a few alien guards began to look the other way when certain ships left port. It was like something was growing, quiet, steady, and strong. It was not war, not yet, but it was something harder to stop. It was hope wrapped in anger. Love turned into action. A fire that started in the hearts of a few and now burned in many. The revenge was not about blood. It was about truth. It was about saying, "You cannot take our people and think we will forget." And in one small system near the edge of the map, a broken signal played on a loop. It showed a boy with red hair drawing stars, a woman planting seeds, a singer holding a child, a translator smiling at a confused alien, a builder holding a baby, a pilot laughing with a friend, a nurse washing dust from a hurt man's face, a girl feeding her pet, a teacher holding up a book, a man reading under a lamp, a mother baking bread, a painter dipping her brush in gold. These were not warriors, but they had started a war. A quiet war, a war of whispers. But soon it would become something more. Because the humans were coming. And this was just the beginning. The galaxy had been quiet for too long. Ships still moved from planet to planet. People still bought food, traded parts, and fixed their homes. But under the quiet, something had changed. It was like a storm building far away, silent but strong. And now the first wind of that storm was starting to blow. Kara Renly stood in the control room of her new ship. It was called the Dawnlight. It wasn't very big, but it was fast and sharp. The walls inside were scratched from past battles. The lights flickered sometimes, but Kara didn't care. She had a crew now, humans and even a few aliens who had joined her cause. They had all lost someone. They were all angry, and they were ready to act. Kara looked at the map in front of her. A red dot blinked on the screen. That was where the Night Maw, the raider ship that took her brother and the others, had last been seen. They were hiding near a broken moon called Crichton 6. It wasn't on many maps. Most people didn't go near it, but Kara was not most people. She tapped the screen and said, "We're going there." The others nodded. No one needed to speak. They had waited long enough. Now it was time to do something. As they flew toward Crichton 6, other things were happening too. Across space, people were starting to notice. They had seen the videos, the drawings, and the paintings. They had heard the stories. And some began to whisper, "The humans are moving." At first, those whispers were met with laughter, but not for long. On a small space station near the planet Darrell, 3 alien guards were talking. One of them had been part of the group that helped take the humans. He laughed when someone mentioned Kara's name. "What can she do?" he said. "She's just one woman in a rusty ship." But a day later, that guard was gone. No one knew how. No one saw who came. His room was empty. On the wall, written in red chalk, were the words, "Not forgotten." That message showed up again, and again, on doors, on screens, on the side of ships, always the same words, "Not forgotten." It was not just a message, it was a warning. Back on the Dawnlight, Kara's crew prepared for their mission. Risa, the baker-turned-pilot, helped load supplies. Mako checked the fuel lines and polished the ship's old guns. Fenn looked at the tracker signal again and made sure it still worked. And Darren Saul sat in the corner, holding a picture of his daughter Myra, with her little pet Binks sitting beside him. The team was ready. They were not soldiers, but they were strong. They had trained. They had planned. And they had one goal: find the 12 taken humans and bring them home. They reached Crichton 6 in the early morning, if you could call it morning. The moon didn't spin right. It was broken long ago by a war no one remembered. The ground was full of cracks. Sharp rocks stuck out like teeth. And hiding near one of those rocks was the Night Maw, just like the tracker had shown. Kara turned to her team. "This is it," she said. "We move fast, quiet, no mistakes." The ship touched down behind a large hill. Everyone grabbed their gear. Finn had built small sound masks so their boots wouldn't make noise. Mako carried a camera to record what they found. Risa had food packs in case any of the prisoners were hurt. Darren had a blaster. He didn't want to use it, but he would if he had to. They moved in the dark, step by step. The air smelled like smoke and metal. A small light blinked on the ground. It was a sensor. But Finn quickly shut it off before it could send a signal. "Go," he whispered. Inside the raider camp, most of the crew was asleep. Only 2 guards stood watch near the holding cells. Kara held up her hand. "Wait." Then she pointed. Darren crept behind the first guard and knocked him out with one quick hit. Mako flashed a light into the second guard's eyes, blinding him for a moment, and Finn jumped in to tie him up. They opened the cell doors. Inside it was quiet, too quiet. Then a voice said, "Kara." It was Tom, her brother. He looked thin, tired, but alive. Behind him stood the others. Myra, Lena, Tala, Finn, Myra, all 12. Their eyes were wide, but hope had returned to them. Kara rushed to her brother and hugged him tightly. Risa cried when she saw her son Finn. Darren picked up Myra and held her close. Binks made a soft, happy sound. The others hugged each other, smiled, and laughed. But there was no time to rest. "Move," Kara said. "We leave now." But someone had woken up. Alarms began to blare. Red lights flashed. Voices shouted. "They know we're here," Fenn said. "We need to move faster," Kara shouted. They ran, guiding the weak and tired prisoners through the rocky path back to the ship. Behind them, shouts grew louder. Blasters fired. One bolt hit the ground near Myra's foot. Darren turned and fired back. "Keep going," he yelled. Kara stayed at the back, protecting the group. Mako threw a small smoke bomb to block the view of the raiders. It worked. For a few minutes, the group stayed hidden. They reached the dawnlight and the ramp opened. Everyone climbed aboard quickly. "Are we all here?" Kara asked. "Yes," shouted Risa. "Go, go, go," Finn yelled. The engines roared. The ship lifted off just as more raiders reached the hilltop. They fired at the ship, but it was too late. The dawnlight shot into the sky and disappeared. Inside the ship, the rescued humans sat down. Some cried, some laughed, some just sat quietly holding hands. They were safe. They were going home. But this was only the start. News of the rescue spread fast. Kara didn't want to send a message, but Mako said, "Let them see what we've done." So he shared the video he had taken. It showed the prisoners, their faces, their hope. The words "they are safe" appeared on screen. And at the end, Kara looked into the camera and said one sentence: "We are not prey." The message spread faster than anyone thought. Colonies cheered. Old soldiers stood up again. Even planets that had stayed quiet now began to speak. One leader on Zoran Prime said, "We cannot ignore this. If humans are not safe, none of us are." More people started joining Kara's crew. Her one ship became 3, then 7, then 12. Each ship had people from different places: miners, teachers, builders, farmers, even singers and artists. They called themselves the Chain, because one link alone is weak, but together they are strong. The Kayark's empire began to worry. They sent messages to quiet the storm. "It was a mistake," they said. "We didn't know." But no one believed them. The people remembered the stolen 12. They remembered the art, the flowers, the stories, the faces, and now they had seen the rescue. A new group rose from the edge of space. It called itself the Lightborn. It wasn't human. It was made of different aliens, Kyrks, Vulari, Tormen, even old enemies. But they all said the same thing. The humans have shown courage. They saved their own. We stand with them. And so the galaxy began to shift. No longer silent, no longer still. The humans had taken back their people. They had shown the galaxy that even without big ships or fancy titles, they could fight and win. On Vesta 4, the colony where it all started, people stood outside and watched the sky. They knew their lost ones were coming home. Lena's students held signs that read, "Welcome back, Miss Leaf." The baker's old shop opened again with a new name, Finn's Firebread. A statue of the 12 was built in the town square. Around it, flowers grew in a perfect circle. In the middle of the statue stood a tall stone with words carved deep. We remember, we fight, we return. The turning point had come, and nothing would ever be the same again.